Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It is super helpful. So my question I'm posing for you guys today, and I hope you will answer in the comments, does the Intellivision Amico have an Atari problem? Now this isn't like the early 80s where the Intellivision and the Atari 2600 were big consoles on the block. These are obviously both niche market items today, the Atari VCS and the Amico, but they are in competition. They are both retro themed consoles, and I think the Intellivision Amico does have an Atari problem. I think it has 3 problems, in fact. Now I'm going to talk about these 3 problems, and then I'm going to talk about 4 things I think that are unique about the Amico that give it a fighting chance in the marketplace and that make it unusual and, in fact, unique. Things that are very different about it. More than anything, make it a much different console than what else is on the market. All right, so what are these 3 problems that the Intellivision Amico has with Atari? What are sort of hurdles it has? First of all, the Atari VCS is actually out in stores. The current company that's calling itself Atari, that does have the rights to these IPs, they have the Atari VCS console. It is out, it is in stores. It's $400. Now you can find it on sale sometimes. There have been sales, but it's a $400 console, which is pretty expensive. It's more than the $250 Amico, which does come with two controllers, the Amico, but the Atari VCS is actually out, available in stores, and you can buy it now. The Amico doesn't have a release date yet. It's got to release this year, surely, I would think. Maybe at least by the fall. I mean, gosh, I can't imagine it being delayed more than that. But anyway, the VCS is out, it is in stores, you can buy it now, it's taking retro gamers' money, and that is a problem for Intellivision. Number 2, speaking of the Atari VCS, Atari's coming out with these awesome games, the Recharged series. Now these are retro reimagined games. These are updated remakes of arcade classics, and Atari has some great games in their catalog. I've been playing Asteroids Recharged and Centipede Recharged and having a blast with them. I reviewed Centipede Recharged for my channel. You guys can watch that. I will put a link in the description. But I've also been playing Asteroids Recharged. Now, my wife and I have been enjoying Centipede Recharged quite a lot because Centipede is her favorite arcade game of all time. But something unexpected happened over the holidays. My daughter was home from college. And when I play video games with her, she always wants to play something like SSX Tricky or Super Monkey Ball or Wario, those micro games, something like that. Those are her 3 favorite games, in fact. But not so much shooters. She likes Galaga because we have the arcade cab, but I'll say, come on, Kay, let's play something like Time Pilot or Asteroids or Galaxian. Nope, no interest. But we were playing Christmas Eve. We had family over, and me and my nephew were playing Asteroids Recharged, in the living room. I've got my Switch in my living room. I've told you guys, because sometimes I like to undock the console and play it while my wife is watching something on TV that I don't care about or whatever, and we're just hanging out. It's nice to have the Switch downstairs. Very convenient, in the family room, the living room or whatever. And we had family over, and we were playing the Switch, and my nephew and I were playing Asteroids, and my daughter says, "Can I play it?" And I was like, "Sure." And so, yeah, you play the winner or whatever, because it's a 2-player game. And she absolutely loved it. She just thought it was great and had a lot of fun with it and wanted to keep playing it. So I thought that was awesome. Very unusual. So these recharged games are doing what the Amico has in mind, what Intellivision has in mind for their console. Reimagined, updated, upgraded games, these arcade classics, for a new audience. But they're still simple, they're still easy to pick up and play, they're still user-friendly, and they're a blast. I mean, Centipede is just one button firing. Asteroids is real user-friendly as well. Some great power-ups that I really enjoy using with Asteroids. And these games just have one life. You can't rack up a bunch of lives. They're not going to last you hours and hours, which is kind of cool because I do play these games for hours and hours, but it's, after a few minutes, it's a new game because you just get one life. So I think that's actually pretty cool in this case. So yeah, that's another problem that Intellivision has with Atari is the fact that these Recharge series are cool. I'm going to keep buying them as they come out. I'll just, fire up my Switch, get on my PayPal account through the Switch, and boom, $9.99, I've got a brand new recharged game. It's awesome. I plan on getting more as they come out. So far, I just have Asteroids and Centipede, and I'm absolutely loving them. So, what other problem does the Intellivision Amico have with Atari? The fact that the Atari IP is and probably always will be bigger than the Intellivision IP. Just the name Atari, that brand identification. Everybody, from a certain generation, older generation, associates Atari with video games. Younger people have heard of Atari, likely as well. Most young people have heard of Atari because it's a famous brand like Coca-Cola or something, and like Nintendo, in fact. But Intellivision never quite reached that pinnacle. It was very popular in the early '80s. Millions of people had the Intellivision. A lot of us grew up playing it, but it came nowhere near becoming as popular as Atari. So there you go. The Amico's 3 problems with Atari. The fact that the VCS is already out, that these recharged games are awesome and they're coming out periodically, and the fact that Atari is a bigger IP than Intellivision. So what does the Amico have going for it that's unique to other consoles? Now, you guys have heard these things before, but I want to kind of go over them again, maybe for those of you who are just now hearing about the Amico or something, since it hopefully will actually come out this year, or just the Amico's fun to talk about. So let's just talk about 4 things that are unique to the Amico. That wacky, crazy, just completely unorthodox controller. Television could have gone the easy route and just come up with a clone of a PlayStation or Genesis or Super Nintendo controller, one of these popular controllers, and just sort of come up with that. But they came up with a controller that's unique to the system and it's going to work well with their games that they're producing. And I've played 5 or 6 games for the console. At the National Video Game Museum, I did a review of the system, and I found the controller to work very well. It felt good. It controlled the firing implements and your on-screen character or whatever very well. I really enjoyed using it, the disc and the screen to shoot, and it's going to have some other functions as well. I think that works well. So the controller is one thing that definitely makes the Intellivision unique over anything Atari's putting out or anybody else. The fact that it does have the Intellivision IP. Now, I mentioned before that Atari is such a bigger name than Intellivision, but I think some people are going to be surprised just how much they enjoy some of these Intellivision games, like Shark Shark, like Astro Smash, bunch of other games for the Intellivision. Ones that they promise for the future, something like Beauty and the Beast, the great climbing game that I'm seemingly always talking about. I would love to see Star Strike remade for the Intellivision. So I think if the Amico lasts for a while, we're going to see quite a few of these reimagined Intellivision games with updated graphics and maybe better gameplay on some of them than the others. Night Stalker, wow, that is such a cool reimagined game. The original game was great. The new game is even better. Really cool stuff on the Amico. I like the Intellivision IP. It's both less popular than the Atari IP, but it also has some interesting games in its own right. So yeah, borrowing from that original Intellivision library, making reimagined games, that's going to be cool. And I've already played some of those and they're awesome. The fact that it emphasizes multiplayer. Now the regeneration games, they're for 2 players. They're not for 4 players or 8 players or anything like that. The Amico, with its emphasis on multiplayer, you're going to get a lot of 4-player games. So instead of just 2 family members, perhaps the entire family, like my family, we have 4 people in our immediate family. Perfect for the Amico. So that's pretty cool. Their emphasis on not only just multiplayer, but multiplayer, 4-player games, 8-player games, and people that don't have a controller can use their cell phone. This makes the console unique when it comes out. It's got to come out this year. Come on, I'm sure it will. And next up, this is the one that I think is going to make or break the system. Its emphasis on families and little kids and parents of young kids. If it doesn't break this market, I think it is probably not going to make it in the marketplace. Because that's their focus, and that's where you really burst out into the mainstream. You're not going to make it just selling to 40 and 50-something-year-old guys like me for something like this. It's got to reach beyond that to the younger parents, the young families, the little kids. And I think parents will see the Amico as a safe space because, with the computer and cell phone, you can get online and you can have, with other consoles, you can have adult-rated games, M-rated games, or whatever. Perhaps the biggest thing the Amico has going for it, at least it's their main emphasis, is the family-friendly nature of the console. Now, yeah, there are a lot of family-friendly games on the Switch and even on the PlayStation and Xbox consoles. But its strict focus on family friendly, I think this is what could completely separate it from these other consoles, because you can't go online and encounter random strangers. You won't have M-rated games on it. I think a lot of these younger families that the Amico is shooting for are going to see it as sort of a safe space. It's not like an iPhone where you can surf the web with it and run into who knows what. And little kids, these young parents of little kids, perhaps they'll see the Amico as a safe place. And Intellivision is certainly counting on that this is going to be a family-friendly console where you don't have access to the internet on it, you don't have access to mature games on it or anything with any, objectionable material in the eyes of young parents trying to raise younger kids and keep them sheltered as long as possible from, things in the world that they don't want them to see. So yeah, the family-friendly nature of the console. Now, there's one fifth thing about the Amico. I did mention 4. Those are the 4 main things I think that make it unique. The lights on the console, the lights on the controllers, and the lights on the console itself. Some people have ridiculed this as kind of silly or pointless or just a waste of money or whatever. I've seen the lighting in action on the console, and it makes it look neat, and it actually gives you some cues and clues about the games you're playing. I think that's kind of neat as well. So there you go, guys. Does the Intellivision Amico have an Atari problem? Let me know in the comments. As I've said, I think it has 3 problems, but I think it has 4 things about it that are could be, really in the Amico's favor. And a 5th kind of quirky thing, the lights on the system. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. We will talk to you in another video. If you're a fan of my work, you might want to consider supporting me on Patreon. For just a low fee each month, you get a lot of extra content. Another way to support the channel and my writing career is to buy books direct from me, including the 100 Greatest Console Video Games, the Classic Home Video Game Series. It's like an encyclopedia set. And this massive bad boy, the NES Omnibus Volume 1 A through L. I will put links in the description of this video where you can buy books direct from me and where you can support me on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.